All right, the Detroit Lions have found some sneaky good news that is coming out. Look, there's always injuries. We always know there's going to be that weird injury that we see coming out of a Sunday game when we're going into a Thanksgiving Day game. However, the Lions are also seeming like they are going to get a couple players back, and it looks like they might come back this Thursday on Thanksgiving against the Green Bay Packers. And if they don't make it back against the Packers, then they will definitely make it back the next Thursday after that against the Cowboys. So as in a time that usually you're getting more hurt, the Detroit Lions are starting to get healthy, and there's still injuries that are piling up like they are with any team. But man, oh man, it seems tough with the Lions. But it is happening at a perfect time. It's happening at a perfect time because I saw a couple things that absolutely drove me nuts against the Giants. Yes, here, let me start with this. This is your time to vent, and then no more complaining. No more complaining about the Giants game because we're not going to apologize and we're not going to complain when we have victory in the NFL, right? And we've seen the Lions find ways to lose games for the majority of our life. So in the last 3 years, when they continue to find ways to win games, even 4 years, we're not going to complain about that. Like, this is the kind of stuff that these are the games we would have found a way to lose, right, in the past. So we found a way to win them. But what was the one thing that drove you the most nuts in watching that Giants game against the Detroit Lions? I'm going to tell you what mine was. It was continually giving up the big play, but it was more than that. It was more than that. All right, maybe it was the slow start, but it was specifically one person, and I love this guy, right? Like, I love his tenacity. I love the way he plays the game, and I'm not about hitting guys, but also we're going to have to call it for what it is. Amik Robertson, outside of a fantastic play in overtime, right, had what was by far his worst game of the season. He received a PFF game of like 49, which, quite frankly, I think it should have been like a 31, right? The pass breakup probably helped it considerably in that grade. However, I need it to be said, not only was he getting beat, but he was getting beat by 3 to 8 yards, like consistently through the first 3 quarters of the game. And that's what makes one of this good news such good news. Terrion Arnold has returned to practice in a limited fashion. His first practice since suffering a concussion. He still has progress to make it through concussion protocol, but this opens up the possibility of him playing on Thursday. Now, I know what you're thinking, right? Oh, Terrion Arnold's the savior? Here's the reason why I think it could be really, really beneficial. When you bring Terrion Arnold back, if you need him to play in the slot, he can play in the slot. If you need Amik to play outside, he can play outside. In fact, Amik Robertson has kind of shown, and one of the adjustments that was made later in that game, which I thought was fantastic, is that Amik Robertson started getting more snaps at outside corner, and then his effectiveness absolutely changed. Amik Robertson has the body of a nickel. Right? Like, I don't mean like, 5 cents, all right? By the way, may the penny rest in peace. He has the body of a slot corner. That's what he is. His height, his everything like that, even his determination in the run game, things like that. He should be a nickel corner. The problem with Amik Robertson is that his coverage is really bad out of the nickel. He's always said, and if you go back a year or two when he first joined this team, he's always been more comfortable on the outside. Some guys, most corners, if I can be completely honest, are more comfortable on the outside. Because if you are good enough to make it to the NFL as a cornerback, you played on the outside usually your entire career. Through high school, you were probably the best corner on your college team. So yes, a lot of them cross-train, but you spent the majority of your time playing on the outside where you have this thing called out of bounds on your side. You have the boundary. So when you have that, and Amik Robertson is very good at using that, and it allows you as a corner to cheat a little bit, to realize like, hey, I'm going to make sure I leverage them so they can't get on the inside, and then you have the boundary to your advantage. At nickel, at slot corner, you need to play it straight up. Like, there is no other way to go about it. So he struggles in that respect. And when you look at our corners in general. All right. And this is one of those things that I wanted to show you. And I apologize. I've been having so much trouble. And again, it's happening again with OBS, the system I use. According to PFF, our number one rated cover corner this year, again, it's on 36 snaps, was Nick Whiteside. Not even close, 84.3. Behind him is Rock Ya-Sin. All right. Larger sample size, 188 coverage snaps. Right behind Rock Ya-Sin, almost identical, is DJ Reed. All right, that's 84, 68, and 66. Then you have Arthur Maulet with 87 coverage snaps. And by the way, they put in Maulet a little bit for Robertson in this past game, and he promptly gave up a touchdown. And then after that, it is Amik and Terrion Arnold within a point of each other. This is extremely interesting. The concerning part about this with Amik Robertson is that he has by far the most snaps of anybody on the coverage. All right, for our DBs, here's the coverage snaps. It's Amik Robertson at 369 snaps. The next closest is Rock Ya-Sin. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Terrion Arnold at 196. Rock Ya-Sin 188. DJ Reed 160. And then nobody else is over 100. And so when you look at it, he has put together the most film, it has been the most tape, and it has been the highest struggle. But here's the thing. He's got that dog in him. He shows up big at big-time positions. I think what's simply happening here is he is being put in a position that he's not overly comfortable with. And getting Terrion Arnold back can absolutely help with that. So that is sneaky good news, and I know I think people have kind of forgotten that Terrion Arnold isn't playing, but it's also good news for a second reason. The fact that he's back in a limited capacity with this concussion protocol, he's been out multiple weeks now. And the longer you go and you're out with a concussion, the more concerning it actually becomes for how damaging this concussion is long term. And your likelihood to get another concussion. And so I don't want to be dealing with that. Also, he had the whole pec thing that we thought was going to keep him out for the year. Then he was back 2 weeks later. Then he re-hurt it. And then we thought he was going to be out for the year. And then he was back 2 weeks later. This has given him some time to rest, rehab, and get that shoulder, pec, whatever it is, healthy as well. Look, this was a first-round draft pick. And Terrion Arnold is someone who's going to need to step up, and they're going to need to play well if this team is going to make noise down the stretch of the season and in the playoffs. We need first-round picks from a year and a half ago to be able to, and DJ Reed, we need these guys to be playing well. And it would not surprise me if Terrion Arnold plays well. It would not surprise me to see some Rock Ya-Sin in there instead of Amik Robertson just because of the way they've been playing. Look, the best player plays. That's how this team works. All right, that is how this team works. I am curious as to why Nick Whiteside isn't around, though, if I can be honest with you, because he did play well when he was in. Maybe it's just a knowledge thing, being so young, coming out of Saginaw Valley State. I understand he got into the NFL a couple years ago, but sometimes there's just a big learning curve for guys from smaller schools. So anyways, let's hope Terrion Arnold gets back for this game. We'll be giving you more. Lions play in 2 days. Isn't that nuts? All right, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.